All
Hello.
right.
We're here. We're live.
It's happening.
We're doing it. Goldnerds podcast live on 11/4 Goldnerds night or Goldbergs night. As you can tell, we are joined by the incomparable Hayley Orrantia. And obviously my co-host Shai. I'm Lons. Let's get started. Oh, we're already hyped, guys. Thank you for joining us, Hayley. It's a pleasure to have you on. The Goldnerds are excited. They pulled for you to come on, and we got you. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. I'm so happy to be here. Oh, hey, Mom.
And this special lady, we can't go anywhere without thanking this special lady who jumped in the chat last time and saw the fans overwhelmingly vote for you as one of their choices to come as a guest. So thank you, Melody. We tip our hat to you at the beginning of the show.
Thanks, Mom. It's so awesome.
Thank you, Melody, for sure. So we just wanted to get to know Hayley a little bit, the star of Goldbergs, Erica Goldberg, as yourself. For our listeners who may not know your background, so I see that you're from Arlington, Texas. Is that correct?
Yes, I was born in Arlington, and then we moved when I was like 5, I think, to Highland Village, which is in Denton County. I'm sure you guys don't know where that is, but outside of Dallas, essentially.
Okay.
There. Yeah.
Are you still in Texas, or I mean, I'm sure you live in LA, but do you guys family in Texas still, or?
My mom and dad are still there. I have my aunt out there, so some family, but I'm back and forth between Los Angeles and Nashville quite a bit. So that's I haven't been home in so long. Especially now.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure.
Yeah.
So in Nashville, is that because of your music?
Yeah. So how many years has it been? Like, I want to say 5 years ago is when I got a place out there. Just because I was going so frequently. When we're filming, I get 1 week off every month. And that's usually when I would go to travel back there and songwrite or record. And lately I've not been able to do that. So it's been kind of weird, but yeah, I'm generally kind of in the middle of both.
I love Nashville. I was there a couple years ago again. Great city. The vibe is just so awesome there. It's like heaven.
So fun. Like that downtown area, obviously Broadway is the main area that everyone tries to go to when they visit. And it's just such a fun town. There's so many new things that have popped up in the last 5 years. Obviously not something to enjoy right now, despite, everyone's doing it anyway, it seems like over there. But normally when it's not COVID times, it's a really fun city.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk about your music. You started out in music, right? Did you what got you interested in music from like at such an early age?
I kind of got started in it in a very natural way. I say it's very similar to how I imagine kids just like deciding to try out for like the football team or something, where I was just singing along to the radio in the car with a family friend. And I was like 9 years old, I think. And she stopped the radio and she was like, you're really good. Like, you should sing for your mom and dad when we get home. And I was like, okay, like whatever. And then I got home and sang an a cappella version of Amazing Grace. And mom and dad were like, okay, you've got something. Like, do you want to start taking lessons? And so I was like, sure. Again, it was the same as like at that age, I had no idea what it would become for me.
Yeah.
But it just was all I ever did in my room. Of course, the hairbrush in the mirror thing, until my parents, my dad and my mom actually made themselves a like stage in my bedroom, which is ridiculous. But they like kicked me out of the room for like a couple months while they painted everything and made it. They're so sweet. And so that was where I kind of really honed in on being on stage and wanting to perform.
Did you do like commercials, or did you perform at any like live sporting events? I've heard that's like a start.
When I was younger, so once I started taking lessons, I was probably 11. From like 11 to 15, when I was in Dallas, I would perform at every festival humanly possible in the area. And Dallas-Fort Worth is kind of big. So I was performing at festivals constantly, from like the Pumpkin Patch Festival that had like literally just my parents in the audience, to like the Red, White, and Blues Festival, which had like a few thousand. So it was just always growing in my hometown in that way. No commercials though. I did at some point, it might have been after the Goldbergs, maybe not, maybe after X Factor, I performed the national anthem at some sporting events.
Wow.
Now, I have a question about this. When you're at festivals and you're around, because I have been immersed in your original music for the last 24 hours.
Well, thank you.
We made a special playlist with your original songs and your Goldberg songs. Back in those days, what were the typical songs you were singing at these various festivals?
Great question. My genre has changed quite a bit in the last. It constantly does. Even today, I'm like, oh, maybe I'm going to be like an indie synth pop artist. Who knows? Like, I'm constantly changing it. But I would say when I was younger, I loved JoJo. Do you remember the song "Get Out, Leave"? I don't know if anyone.
Yeah. I love JoJo.
One of the youngest artists to ever get like a record deal or something like that, and she just has the best vocals. So I was doing JoJo covers. God, what were some of these other songs? Jordan Sparks had great music. It was very much that like pop, but like big vocalists trying to do runs kind of thing. But so I did mostly covers until I was probably 14 or 15, and I started writing my own music, and then I incorporated that in as well.
Okay, so you write your own songs?
Yes. Now every song I release, I do write. Yes.
That's fantastic. Now, speaking of songs, we do have one of our new signature things with the live show, and how we got you here is live polls. And I want to give the fans time to vote, because we're going to get back to your songs that you sing on the show. Lon, it's okay if I put up the voting screen now?
Put them up, Sean.
All right.
Put it up.
Goldnerds, you know what to do, because you did such an amazing job last time. And I'm also going to put the link. We're going to use this amazing thing called Mentimeter that here we go. There it is. Okay. So what is your favorite Hayley Orrantia song on the Goldbergs? All right. There are all the options or the options that we listed. We couldn't get every single one. The options are listed. You can go to mentimeter.com menti.com and just put in this code, or if you're in the chat, I'm going to drop the link in the chat on a regular basis for the next however many minutes. Jump in and vote, and we will come back later with the results.
Ooh, I can't wait to see this.
Now, probably won't be able to ask you to sing it live, because YouTube has like that crazy algorithm that'll probably like kill our stream. But you'll know or maybe we'll end on that and then they'll kill the stream. Yeah. So everyone, go to menti.com, pop in this code. I'll leave it up for a little bit while I close the screen, and join us in voting. All right, back to Hayley, of course.
Awesome. I love seeing Troy and Sam in the back of that photo too.
I also love that I'm the resident Jew on the podcast, and I love that that is from a Hanukkah episode. That is from the I Have a Little Dreidel Hanukkah episode.
Yeah.
And because of that, because of that whole concept of not having Jewish like good songs, generationally now, 20 years after the 30 years, no wait, hold on, 40 years after the 80s, sorry, I forgot how old I was. We now have like hosts of playlists of like modern poppy songs, but it's because of those exact moments. So
yeah, where they're like, we need to upgrade our song choices here, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So, okay, you write your own songs, you're doing festivals now. What led to X Factor? Like, did you just blind auditions?
So my mom, who you all know now, she was the one that found out that Simon Cowell was going to be bringing the X Factor to the US. And so this was season 1, auditions were happening, and she was like, come on, Hayley, you just got to do it. Like, they watched American Idol a ton. I actually couldn't watch shows like that, because I'm not even kidding you. I would watch it for like 5 minutes and then get really like antsy, and I need to go in my room and like sing something. So I don't know what that means, but So I would never like watched it myself, but she's like, you got to do it. Like it'd be a great opportunity. So just to get her to shut up, I was already too late to going to the in-person auditions in Dallas.
Okay.
I ended up submitting an audition online, and they were only going to look at the first like 8,000, which is still a lot, videos. And then from there, possibly get people to come back. And I was sitting in the audience watching the judges round in Dallas. So like you do the initial, as they do with like American Idol, the like behind the scenes 3 or 4 auditions, and then you get to actually be in front of the judges for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was watching that in Dallas in the American Airlines Center when I got a call on my phone from some random number. And they're like, hey, this is so-and-so from the X Factor. We're calling to let you know we saw your video and we want you to fly to Seattle and audition in front of the judges. And I'm like, wow. Okay. So I skipped all the like first things by doing the online submission and having no idea that I honestly thought I was going to submit it and my mom would just let it go and that would be what it was. And that wasn't the case. I was put into a country pop girl group on the show, for those of you who don't know. And we made it
Rain.
Lakota Rain. And then we made it to 9th place. So we hung in there.
Wow. Incredible. Yeah. Are you still close with the girls with Lakota Rain, or do you keep in touch at all?
I am. Carrie, who goes by Fletcher, has been crushing it as a pop artist.
Oh, I love Fletcher. That's her?
Yes, that's her. She would never want anyone to know that because she's too cool now. But
oh my God. I listen to music all the time.
She's awesome. So she's crushing it. She's out here in LA too. Danny, I am going to her wedding whenever it's getting pushed back a bunch because obviously COVID, but excited to see her. And then Paige was here for a while, went back to New York or East Coast, and then is back here again. So we've been trying to get another reunion together. So maybe soon.
2021, hopefully.
All right.
So then from X Factor, it seemed like you got the Goldbergs kind of soon after X Factor. Is that correct?
Yes.
What made you want to go into television or like, television film industry from the music side of things?
So this is my crazy story.
Okay.
And it pisses off all of my friends who are actors, which I apologize to anyone who's watching this, but this is just how it happened. When I was 15, I met with record labels, trying to do the music thing. And they all were like, oh, you're great. I was trying to do the JoJo thing at the time, right?
Yeah.
So, they're like, you're great, but I was obviously very much an underdeveloped artist. Like I was just a 15-year-old kid who loved to sing. Like I wasn't stylizing myself to try to market anything. So they're like, it might be helpful since Hannah Montana is like at the height of what it is. You should just try to get a TV show and then you'll get a record deal in one. Because that's our TV. And I was like, okay.
So just Hannah Montana and you're good, right?
Wait, what was that?
Just be Hannah Montana and then you're good, right?
Just get on a TV show. Now, I'll say we've interviewed the great Sam Lerner. We are self-avowed Lerner heads. And one of the things Sam gushes about is how, as he did on the episode, was how talented you are as an actor and how, but this is maybe not something you really intended. This is sort of like the second thing. But we asked him like, oh, what do you think Hayley will do next? And he was like, anything she wants. Have you come to love acting, or are you forever a musician really at heart?
I always say if it wasn't for the Goldbergs being the show for me that like it happened, I don't know if I would have loved acting as much, but I love it because of this show. Our writers are amazing. The people I get to work with are incredible. I mean, already just the main cast, getting to work with people like George Siegel and Wendy, who it's just amazing. To then have guest stars even that I'm like, I see you in all the movies and you're hilarious. And like, I'm always in awe of the fact that I get to work with these people. Every year we're in our 8th season now. So because of this show, it's made me like really love acting, and I'm not going to stop after the show. I'll definitely continue to audition, and fingers crossed something comes along down the line. But music is a first love of mine, so I will take a little bit of time to try to focus on that. And I think I mean, no matter what, even if nothing ever really happens for me in music, I'm probably going to make music till I die. So, that's just
Yeah.
who I am.
The cool thing is you get to keep making it. If I may with another, I'm going to just tangent for a moment, because you talked about that wonderful acting family, or that Goldbergs family. And I've said this, I had the great fortune to say this to Adam, even, like, the Goldbergs have become my family's family show, right? If you had a show, I don't know what your show was growing up, because we're all different, we're different ages, but for us, the TGIF shows, right? The Full House and all of that was my whole family. It was an experience. And the Goldbergs night is an experience. I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old. We have a question from a 7-year-old in Allentown, Pennsylvania, through her dad, that she put in the chat. Would you be up for answering the question? Yeah. Okay, so Lily, age 7. This is really exciting. Lily, age 7, would like to know: I have an annoying brother just like Barry. What's your advice for dealing with him?
Well, Lily, both myself and Troy, who plays Barry, are only children in real life. So I can only go off of what Erica would do. Honestly, either just ignore him. You can. I have no idea. I don't know how people deal with siblings. Seriously though, I don't know, because for me, like, being an only child, I always just isolate myself. So I'm like, oh, I'm not going to deal with the drama, so I'm just never going to talk to that person again. But obviously with siblings, it's very different. So Lily, I wish I knew. Maybe, tell him to knock it off. How does you guys have siblings? Do you know?
Yeah. I would say, I'll first answer what I think Erica would do. I think Erica would just torment Barry.
Hopefully.
And just until it got a little too far, and then she would apologize, and then they would be good, and he would kind of back off a little bit.
And she would be there for him in the end.
Yeah.
That's one of Erica's greatest qualities, is she is as fiercely loyal as Bevy, even though she's struggling with it.
Well, there's times even in this season where I'm like, gosh, she's really cruel sometimes, especially to her siblings or her mom. But it seems like the Goldberg way is, by the end of it, we all come together, and like the love is always there, despite driving each other crazy or annoying each other. The love is definitely always there.
Have Troy and Sean become your siblings on a certain level?
Well, I remember season 1, Troy and I, because we are both only children and we're the same age. We're like, so we're siblings now, right? And he's like, yeah, for sure. So we call each other brother and sister. And I think, again, neither of us have had siblings. So I think the way our relationship works is much like an actual brother-sister relationship, where we don't always have to be like talking or on top of each other in that way. It's like there's almost a separation to some degree. And then like when we're together, it's like, I don't know how to describe that. It's because how do you describe a sibling relationship when you've never really had one? But
I mean, I think, being on a show for 8 seasons, you guys work like 9 months out of the year, long hours. I'm sure that you guys have spent more time together than most actual siblings have. So I think whatever you feel towards him is probably what an actual sibling relationship is like.
Yeah. She'd fight with him and then sing an awesome duo. Absolutely.
A little love ninja to go along with the fighting.
That's the song, by the way, because I have a song that I released. I think it was my first single I put out, and it was called Love Sick. To this day.
Which is a killer song.
Killer
song.
Yeah.
Love that song.
No matter where I am, if I bring up the song or whatever, someone's like, yeah, but like Love Ninja, though. So I've had so many requests on the road about Love Ninja.
That you should tour with Troy, and then he can sing the rapping parts, and like you guys could do like a country pop rap duo.
Yes, honestly, I don't know if Troy ever would, but that would be incredible. I always try to get him to do stuff like this, and he doesn't seem interested, but I gotta rope him into it.
He's I would say after Troy and George, I think, will be the remaining cast members who have not done this show of the top billed cast.
Really?
But of course, AJ, like AJ neither right now, but like but of the people who are currently the top billed cast, we're missing Troy and George. But we hesitate to bother George. George is like, such a legend.
just based off of our Zoom call table reads, I don't know if he'll be able to figure out the mechanics of all this. But he's incredible. He is honestly, George is one of my favorite people. There's nothing like working with George Siegel. He's the best laugh of anyone I've ever heard. But I'm sure we can get a Troy situation going at some point.
Maybe you can work that Erica JTP magic.
Yes.
Okay. What's with George's mustache?
Okay, are you guys into it?
I love it.
I love it. I mean, that's what Pops really looked like, right? He did have a mustache.
He did. I think for some reason this year, with our new showrunners, I think they are more open to different hair changes, style changes of sorts. And I think George was like, "I'm gonna have a mustache," and they were like, "Sure."
Love it.
So it just is.
How do you say no to George?
Yeah.
What was that?
How do you say no to George?
I know. It's like he's the man, the myth, and the legend. So how do you? I mean, the stash is fully grown, so I feel like he can pull it off.
That's amazing.
I think we've said this before, but we'd always love to have more Erica and Pop scenes together. Like maybe more of them like figuring out, like her going to him for boy troubles or something, or like having problems with Jeff and like having him give her advice and everything. Just pair you two up a little more.
I would love that. I actually got to do a scene with him. Because of COVID, we're obviously limiting the amount of scenes we do with him because he is our national treasure and we don't want anything to happen to him. So there's only been a couple of scenes that he's been in this season with other cast members. And this was, I think, the second one. So I do get to have a scene with him this season. I'm hoping there's more of that. But yeah.
We have said, and there's been unanimous Gold Nerd talk, that if George needs to just be in the other room, like making a bagel for the whole season to keep him safe, that is perfectly fine with us. I mean, do you know the movie Look Who's Talking? So I saw that in the theater when it came out, and he plays the married guy that that Kirstie Alley is having the affair with. I learned about reproduction because of that scene, because of George Siegel, because the next scene is the Beach Boys music playing and all the sperm flying in the, so.
That's amazing. Honestly,
oh my God,
I don't know how appropriate it is for me to tell this story, but just my first conversation ever with George, this was season 1, we're sitting in the cast chairs. George taught me something similar in that realm, but like kind of different. I don't know if I should get into it, but that was like my first conversation with him. And I remember being like, was that really what we talked about? Like as the first memory I have with him, but that's just kind of his way, I guess.
That's amazing.
Wow. I'm so happy for you, Shai, that you learned what that was. So
I have you teaching me the young people things, Lons, and then George Siegel teaching me sex education.
Yes. As he should, especially with that stash.
Do we want to get to some fan questions? There's so many. There's so many. And I wanna honor all of these. I mean, we're not gonna get to all of them, but we will do our best. And one of your biggest fans, who is always comes to the live show, is Mandy Golden Goddess fan. Mandy Golden Goddess fan. She put this one, I believe, on Instagram. And what are your plans? No one is saying the Goldbergs are getting canceled.
I wouldn't even say canceled. Like a few years down the line, when it naturally ends, and you have a whole season wrap up, where we're emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually prepared. Yeah,
exactly.
Way down the line. Let's not use the word canceled. It
ends on its own terms. We just wanted to respect the integrity of the question.
Yeah. What would your plans be?
Oh gosh. I actually had a moment in my car driving to work the other day, and I started crying because I thought about what it would be like to not go and see the people that I work with every day, and not just the cast, like the crew too. Like we've had some of the same crew since season 1. So this question, Mandy, is tough because I don't know. Like I feel like I'm going to have a quarter life crisis when this show is over, because I'll be auditioning. Hopefully some other projects will come along. I'll probably be continuing to make music happen if I can. And well, I'll just definitely make music no matter what. And then I think there's a few other things that my family and I have really tried to invest in. I mean, my mom and dad, I'm so close with them, and we've worked together in all different capacities. So I don't know if you guys have seen this, but my dad and I have now started a flip company in Nashville.
Oh yeah.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's going to be a thing that, you know, who knows down the line if that's a full-blown business or if there's a show that comes out of it. And then my dad and I also have been trying to develop like scripted ideas together. So I would love, in a perfect world, I'm actually trying, I don't know how many people know this, but I have in my contract to be taking director's classes at Sony because I would love to direct an episode and maybe
Oh wow.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
That is a big ask. I don't even know if that will ever happen, but I have a lot of big goals, so I'm gonna keep trucking along. That's for sure.
And you also pre-answered the question about writing with your dad because G's Dave asked about that. We'll get to see. He had a lot of questions, so we'll get to him. And by the way, Sam has responded with a message right here on Instagram on Instagram, and he says, "Tell her I love her. She's the best. She's my favorite castmate I've ever had."
Oh.
Sam and I have such a good bond, and he's honestly such a good guy. And it's like, I can't begin to tell you, getting to work with people that you actually genuinely enjoy working with and love just makes it that much better, you know?
Yeah, and you could tell in the cast chemistry too. There's actors, you know, who not said, but like hinted after the fact of the show that they weren't close with their castmates, and like you could tell in the chemistry that, you know, maybe between two actors they don't have scenes as much together. But you know, like, you know, going off of Friends and Cheers and Seinfeld, and these are big names with casts that have such amazing chemistry. It's like lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
And that's the Goldbergs have. You guys have great chemistry. I mean, you feel like an actual family, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, we definitely do. I'm glad
so
you know that.
we've got some other questions, some personal questions here.
Okay.
James Stiles would like to know about your first name.
Why is it Sarah? Well, that's a question from my mom and dad. I think maybe it had something to do with it being biblical, but then once they were like, okay, well, we need a middle name. They couldn't think of one. And then I think at some point my mom had watched or rewatched The Parent Trap, the original Parent Trap.
Oh, yeah.
Hayley
Mills and Hayley Mills.
And she spells it Hayley. And my mom was like, oh, what a unique name. No one has that name. So she wanted to name me Hayley, but they also had committed to Sarah. So it became Sarah Hayley. And of course, I've just always gone by Hayley. I don't know why they never called me Sarah. Honestly, Sarah feels a little too elegant for me anyway. But it's funny because, of course, even though my mom thought it was such a unique name, everyone has Hayley as a name now. So it's like went over her head a little bit.
My real name is Samuel. My parents have only called me by my nickname Shy since I was born. So There we go. So another personal question. Okay. And we're not going to pry everyone. We're not going to pry too much into Hayley's private life. But G's Dave asks, when relaxing and watching TV with Greg,
okay,
who holds the remote? Who decides what you're watching?
He's gonna hate him saying this, but I wear the remote pants in this house. I mean, look, he's got some good suggestions. Absolutely. He's challenged me to watch a lot of movies that I normally would have never watched. It's a lot of older movies. We've started a thing where we watched noir films. Oh. So he's got a lot of that I've learned and love. But I'm very much on the what's new, what's out right now. Everyone's talking about this.
Yeah.
So in that regard, I feel like I do that.
What have you been watching during COVID?
When COVID first started, we both just wanted something lighthearted. So we binge watched How I Met Your Mother again.
Okay. Yeah.
So we both grew up loving. That was one of the shows when you say what I grew up watching, sitcoms with my dad. That was one of the shows.
Absolutely.
It's so good. So we watched the whole thing. We watched New Girl all over again. And then lately, this week, we started The Queen's Gambit that everyone's been watching on Netflix.
I finished that. It's fantastic.
We're on the 7th episode, and I can't stop watching it. It's so good.
I'm behind. I thought
Mm-hmm.
it was an Arrowverse show, Lons. I thought it was Lons is a big WB.
Oh,
CW sorry, CW fan.
Got it.
No, it's I honestly like. Don't you want to be like a grandmaster now? Like, I want to learn all about chess. I want to play like all the time.
Yeah, but I also don't know if I have the capability of doing that.
Oh, absolutely not. I probably would suck.
But I love that show. Has been great. And one other thing has been the Great British Baking Show. I will watch that thing when I'm getting my makeup on, when I'm doing breakfast, just all day. It's the greatest thing.
Oh yeah, that's a big show in our house actually all the time. You have another 7-year-old fan, by the way. There's like families who just love this show. So this 7-year-old fan says, what's it like to work with Wendy? And have you ever met the real Beverly? I have met the real Beverly a handful of times. She hasn't been able to come to set this year because obviously COVID's a thing. And so we haven't seen a lot of guests on set, but I have met her. She's always been so sweet. And Wendy actually keeps telling me about her banana bread, and I am dying to have it. So Beverly, if you're watching this, come back and bring some bread for me. But Wendy is amazing. I love her. I have looked up to her forever. And one of the main reasons that I was like, oh, I need to book this show was because they had signed Wendy on before anyone else as the cast. And I'm like, oh my God, she's from Reno 911 and Bridesmaids. And I just have to work amongst her. And she's incredible. Like, what we talk about this all the time on set, especially with Matt Myra, who is one of the writers and producer on the show. We were talking about how Wendy has the capability of taking something, just a scene, and adding things to it that you never just would have thought could have been there, needed to be there. And she just makes it that much more funny. And she's just good at what she does. I mean, I can't speak highly enough about Wendy.
Do you get to improv on the show? Does Wendy get to improv on the show?
Not as much as you would think. And that is one of the biggest beefs I have. And I don't know if it's the network or producers. I don't know whose job this is, but like the bloopers for our show could be so much better every year because Wendy or whoever had improv something or messed up a line and it actually was this. And so whenever I watch the bloopers, I'm like waiting for the scenes where we messed up and it was just naturally funny. And sometimes they overproduce the bloopers, I think, to where it's like, okay, like, yeah, we're being a little goofy, but there was so much more that could have been added. But there's times where Wendy has improv stuff that is just too good to not make the show.
I forgot to mention, we've never had Jeff. There are scenes, there's particularly a couple of scenes where Wendy and Jeff are like in a car. And it just, those scenes, I feel like they're just like, okay, Wendy and Jeff, you guys just play jazz, do your thing. But I guess it doesn't happen as much as I think it does because those two seem like they're just powerhouses of that.
They totally could, by the way. Like if they were gonna allow them to do that, they would knock it out of the park. But I think on our show, they're very particular about us getting the lines as written. And of course, there's times where they're like, all right, now just if she has something that she can't help herself, like she's gonna do it. Whether it makes the show is up to the editors and stuff later. But yeah, I wish there was more of it because she's got some gems.
Yeah, I guess on like Parks and Rec, they would do like 2 takes scripted, 1 take improv. So then Chris Pratt would do all of his improv and like the physical comedy on that 3rd take. That maybe you should, ask to develop that type of rule. Yeah. 2 takes scripted, 1 take improv.
It's like that. I think our show would benefit so much too because you're getting. Obviously, there's an algorithm they have down for this show that works, and the writers are amazing, so I cannot take credit away from how funny they are. But I think there is something to be said about letting actors like Wendy or Jeff just riff and see what happens sometimes.
I think what the Goldnerds really want to know is, and the big question that we get all the time is the Erica gag. Was that scripted or was that improv? Did you add that?
That was not me. I'm fairly certain, I might be wrong, but I want to say it was one of our writers, Steve Basilone, who is no longer on the show, but the season we did it was when Lainey, actually the episode we did it was when Lainey was telling me that she and my brother had a thing.
Yeah.
And she was describing him in the hallway. I was outside my bedroom and she was outside of Barry's bedroom, and she was describing how she wanted to kiss him or something. And the scene was just going to end with me being like, oh God, gross, and then walking away. And I think it was Steve that said, hey, can you just like throw a gag on there and walk away? And I'm like, a gag? How do you do that? I was like, okay. So I tried it and they liked it. So they put it in the show. And now you guys, I want someone, here's a challenge for the Goldnerds. If you're going to go back and watch this show from the beginning, I want a tally of how many times in the history of Goldbergs they've made me gag. Because by the end of season 8, it's going to be around 100.
There is an account, Erica Goldberg Gags, that will probably check this out for us. And that's one of our regular folks. Just so everybody knows, we are not going to ask Hayley to do it. So you are absolved from having to do it with us. We have talked about, though, our favorite gags.
Yeah.
Mine, but
I think ours is the same, Shy. Is it the Rush episode?
It's the Rush episode. With the Rush episode, which is my favorite episode. That's the episode whenever I want to show anyone the show.
And AJ's gagging, and then Alex Jennings is gagging. All of this, like, I'm sorry?
Were we in the garage? I don't remember.
No, you're in your room. Bedroom.
Okay, yes. And then Alex, and I do remember that. And they've got, I don't know what it is about it. I guess I'm good at it, but I've had strangers come up to me and just be like, hey, can we get a photo together, but like us gagging? And I'm like, you realize how weird this is, right? Like that you came up to me.
Guys, stop asking Hayley to gag for a photo. Just ask her to smile. Come on now.
Well, I mean, like, you got like Sean, who plays Adam, has his "oh balls" line as his catchphrase, or like, you know, Troy's got his run, and then I've got the gag. So
you're perfect at it. You are. It's like, I really believe that something's gonna come up.
And look, what would you rather have, the gag or Troy's run?
Honestly, there are days I want Troy's run, because there's times where I will be fake gagging. I did a scene the other day. I think this is going to be season 8, episode 8. Where I have a whole scene of gagging, and I almost threw up doing the gag. So that happens a lot, where I'm like, where I tell people on the set, I'm like, look, if I throw up, just keep going, because it's going to be funnier in the scene. So it happens every day. One day.
I'd love to hear more about your music, your current music, what you're working on. Again, like I said, I've been in like I just learned this term, sound bath. I've been in this sound bath of the playlist, and everyone should check out on Twitter. We made a special Spotify playlist of a mix of Hayley's stuff from the show and her original music. I'm a big music nerd. Could I ask you just like some music questions, like about your songs? And okay, so my favorite song so far is Strong, Sweet, and Southern. It's so much fun. And for me, so I grew up in Canada, and for me it evokes, and I don't know if there was any, it evokes Shania Twain, like when Shania Twain was really like coming on, and her, like, it's got that great beat, and you sound like you're having so much fun in that song. Are you acting, or are you having that much fun when you are singing a track like that?
That one was definitely fun. I wrote that with Mark Bright and Kevin Kadish in Nashville. So Mark Bright's done all of Carrie Underwood stuff, and Kevin Kadish actually did all of Meghan Trainor's first album. So that combo, you can kind of hear a little bit of like Meghan Trainor, like trumpets and things. That it was just such a fun song. I want to say I saw that phrase, which the hook of the song is, I like my men like I like my tea, strong, sweet, and Southern. Yeah. And I was like, why is this not already a song in country music? Like, this just makes sense. So we did it, and it was just a sassy country song. And I'm so glad people love it, because there's times where I'm like, did I pigeonhole myself sonically with this one? But I love performing that one. I'm so glad. I mean, it's one of my few upbeats that I actually have as well.
So one that's sonically totally different is Find Yourself Somebody, which, by the way, we got a little graphic up. Go to Hayley's website, Find Yourself Somebody. Very different vibe.
Very.
How do you, what's the story behind that one?
So Find Yourself Somebody, I wrote about somebody that I dated, that it ended kind of on like a mutual note where we knew it wasn't, we weren't right for each other necessarily, but there was still like love and respect for the other person. And you're like, I want you to go out there and find yourself somebody that, you know, made you as happy as we maybe made each other, had fun together, but it's just circumstance wise not going to work out with us. So that's what the gist of the song is about. But yeah, it's a very different vibe. And like I said early on in the podcast, I kind of changed genres a bit, or I like to flirt with other ones. So that's why you kind of hear a big difference in my music.
Where are you right now, you think, with your genres? What's kind of, who's inspiring you, and where are you right now?
I would say no matter what, when I write something, it naturally kind of comes out country pop. So I can't deny that. But there are times where I'm very influenced by like Sarah Bareilles. So there's times where I want to just do like a musical theater-esque ballad and, you know, that kind of vibe. And then there's times where Greg makes music of his own, and we do have a studio here now that we're going to try making music together. And he's influenced or had a lot of influence for me that's more indie synth pop kind of stuff that I just love being able to challenge my sound. Maybe it's in the way that a lot of people as actors, you want to dive into a different role. So for me, that's just kind of what music is. I don't think you necessarily have to like pigeonhole yourself into one specific sound.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I saw you live a few years ago at Hotel Cafe.
Yeah.
I think that was actually the same night that John Mayer came out after your set and played. And
was that the craziest thing
that
that's
was
ever?
Nuts.
So I know you have something to say, but can I just tell you guys, like, that was one of my first performances, and actually it might have been one of my second performance ever in Los Angeles. And my drummer said, hey, this is Hotel Cafe. Just so you know, sometimes they'll call like famous people, or famous people will call in and be like, hey, I'm just going to come up and do like a jam sesh. And I'm like, okay. I told my drummer, like, that's cool. Like, probably not going to happen, but great. So
Yeah.
I'm on stage performing, and then whatever, I get off stage and I start to see people like Bob Saget and Joe Jonas coming in the door. And I'm like, what's happening? And then they're like, okay, and next up is John Mayer. I'm like, did I just open for John Mayer?
Yeah.
The craziest thing. I had no idea was happening, but that was wild.
Well, like, it was I love that Hotel Cafe because it's so intimate. And your set was so beautiful, you know, in like, it's a great like small setting. And I feel like even with different genres, you can like build upon that, you know, like that small setting. Yeah, it was a magical night. You did incredibly well. I recommend people hear you live. You have such a beautiful voice live, and you have like such great confident stage presence too. So
thank you.
Great
I want to get back on the road, but it'll be a minute.
I think you played in Baltimore, and I believe you like met up with some Goldnerds. That's would have been the closest show to my area. Or maybe I don't know if you've been to the DC area recently, but I remember what?
Not in like maybe a couple years.
Oh, okay. But you had something in like the Baltimore area. That would have been the closest. I was bummed that I missed it, but I will be there when we are able. Thank goodness. Well, you know, one day when we are able to be live in person again. I mean, live music is so special. So there's another song I want to ask you about, and partially because we made this awesome graphic, but it has, but this is made for this, which the picture is actually like, the music is beautiful, but that picture is so beautiful. When you go to your website, it's the thing that you see.
Yeah.
I definitely tell us about the song, but how about that picture?
So that photo is of me and my mom, and in
Melody.
Yes, Melody. She's probably still watching too. So my dad is originally from Montana, Great Falls, Montana, and we go up there almost every year to visit my family. And Glacier National Park is right there. I want to say that's Glacier National Park. If not, that might be Yellowstone. But we used to travel all the time up to the mountains. And this song is, I was kind of going through a hard time around the same time that Find Yourself Somebody was written, where I was just in a bad place. I was struggling. And my mom being my mom, she recognized obviously this is what was happening, but she didn't have any way to like fix it, or like, as a mother, I'm sure you want to be able to just be like, okay, everything's gonna be fine. I'm going to take any of that pain away. And realizing that she couldn't, she was having a really hard time going through it. So I told her, or through this song, I wanted to tell her, like, no matter what, I know I'm going to get through this difficult time because I have the ability to, after being raised by someone as strong as her, as well as my father. And so it's like a Mother's Day song in a way. And we released it on Mother's Day. So it's kind of one of those, just like a love song to your mom about, I actually, the quote, I'm stumbling over my words right now, but the reason the hook of the song is I am not afraid I was made for this is because my mom actually gifted me a piece of art that is a Joan of Arc quote that says, I am not afraid I was made for this. And that to me, like, was just embodied the feeling I wanted to tell her, which is I was raised by a badass like my mom. So.
Oh, that's such a sweet Mother's Day gift. I just got mine like a spa gift card.
I know. And then I will say my dad like hit me up after and he's like, so what am I getting for Father's Day? I'm like, look, I can't be doing back-to-back Mother's Day, Father's Day songs, but you'll get one. So
how about the music on the Goldbergs? So, originally, your character's Eric turned into Erica, wasn't a singer, but you are a singer. So they kind of built that into the character. How's that been being able to like cover 80 songs on the show?
It's been fun. I mean, there's times where, most of the time I know the songs, or I've already heard of these songs before I get to cover them. And it's been a challenge to some degree, but a lot of fun because, I'd heard of Rush. I knew that song, but I'd never tried to sing a song from Rush before. So after doing that with AJ, we like loved that song. So
I am a deep Rush fan.
Yeah.
I am part of a big online Rush community.
Yeah.
And they are, because of that performance, all of these Rush fans became fans of the show.
I love that.
Retweeting and showing it all the time. And that performance is amazing. I listen to that one all the time. My kids prefer, I love Geddy Lee. My kids prefer Geddy Lee by a long shot.
That's amazing. No, but that's the thing about the show is it's challenged me musically to cover songs I never would have before. It's challenged me vocally because sometimes there's songs that they're like, okay, we need this song recorded and we're filming it this week, so figure it out. And so there's no time, and I get in the studio and I realize like it's probably 4 keys too high than what I would normally do. But in a way, it's been a very positive challenge because, I've been able to do it, I guess. So I have loved being able to cover songs on the show, and as well as the originals. The writers, they make these ridiculous songs that Erica and Barry sing or rap together. And, while some of them haunt me, most of them are a lot of fun. And I'm glad that they're able to slide those in the show as well.
Judah Maccabee, Dinosaur Hunter, now on my family Hanukkah list.
Yes. Do you know how happy that song makes me? That one and what was the other one? Well, I don't know if you guys know this. I'm sure maybe you picked up on it. But do you remember the Big Orange episode where we did like a funeral for Barry's t-shirt?
Oh, yeah. Among my daughter's most favorite episodes. They watch it over and over and over again, and you introduce them to Walking on Sunshine. You are the voice that has introduced so many kids to these songs. It's amazing.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, that getting to do that song with AJ was really special because her and her sister, who I grew up a big fan of, did that. Yeah. So I was like, am I really
like original album?
Yes. was like, am I really in the studio with AJ from Ally and AJ covering one of the songs that they've already covered? Like, this is crazy. So with that episode, there's a tag in the episode where Troy comes up and I want to say he randomly started like rapping and then like quickly stopped. And the director, who I believe is David Katzenberg, said, just improv, like go, and we'll just keep recording. So that never happens. So he just improv'd a rap out of nowhere, and they ended up making it the tag of the episode. And I think there were a couple of references that were definitely not 80s, so they cut it a little short. But he went on for like a few minutes. It was pretty incredible.
Bohemian Rhapsody is possibly
so
one of the greatest musical moments in the history of television.
Okay.
We're not exaggerating when we say that either.
Can I
We
tell
watch a lot of TV.
Here's a little Goldnerds behind the scenes that no one really knows. Before I shot the scene in the mall where I'm jumping around to each microphone with that's the one we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
I had a full panic attack and was weeping. And the director, Jay Chandrasekhar, had to come back and be like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, because you're asking me to cover a song that's impossible to cover. And he's like, the point is it's not supposed to sound good. I'm like, yes, but I'm a singer, and so I want it to sound good. So I was having a meltdown, and then got my stuff together, and we filmed the scene, and I'm glad that, it turned out the way that it did. But it's so funny trying to separate my like music brain from the TV music brain, because they're just different, especially in comedy.
It's so hard for a great singer like you it's like an even bigger acting feat to then not sing well, right? And now you mentioned Jay Chandrasekhar, which to me, like, I saw Super Troopers in the movie theater in college with my friends. We had never heard of it. We all went back the next day and saw it over and over and over again. The directors on the Goldbergs are all legends in themselves. So just some off the top of my head. So Jay Chandrasekhar, which, like, anything you want to tell us about him, that's just, for me, I appreciate it. Kevin Smith, Leah Thompson, and then there's the guys who direct a lot of episodes, right? Who are there all the time.
Now Lou Schneider. We've had Christine Lakin, who
I love Christine Lakin.
She's one of the best. We've had Ken Marino, the actor, be a director. We've had
and Jinzy's directed an episode, right?
Jinzy.
She wrote an episode.
I don't think she directed one, but I think she wrote one.
Okay, right, Lons? Lons,
yeah, she wrote an episode.
Okay.
And then, not Boy Meets World, brother.
Fred Savage.
Fred Savage.
Fred Savage. Amazing. He's directed a couple times. We've had so many incredible directors on our show. That's so fun. I mean, our show in general, I don't know what it is. We're able to attract these incredible actors even to come on and guest star, or musicians. Like the fact that we had John Oates and like now we're buddy is like the craziest. I'm like, I'm sorry, just John Oates direct messaged me today. You know what I mean?
That's amazing. Now, you weren't in any scenes with him, but Weird Al is basically my hero. Right? You weren't in any scenes. It was Wendy and Sean. But that was that is that like you've mentioned all of these famous people, but getting to spend a day on set with Weird Al, that's just
incredible. I was that day, I think, was also the day that we had, I might be wrong, but there were a bunch of puppies on set too. And I was like, why am I missing the best day? I don't know why I didn't get to play with puppies or meet Weird Al.
So you've gone 8 seasons. Do you have a wish list still of like people you want to get on, or storylines you want to movie homages you want to take on?
Oh man. Oh yeah, Melissa Joan Hart directed too, which she and I worked together in God's Not Dead 2, which was a
great
different
movie.
Yeah,
I loved it. Yeah, I saw both movies.
She's just the best. Like, she's just an awesome person. Let's see. As far as storylines go, Sam and I, of course, are always like, I need Jerrica to get married. It needs to happen. I don't know how we make that happen. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but that's the goal. And then that's so tough. I know there's been other ones that we've things we wanted to reference that of course are not coming to my head right now. But we always have said we wanted Adam Sandler to play a walk-on role. And I think at one point they were considering him for Uncle Marvin. and it just didn't work out scheduling wise because he's still out there making big movies. But his production company is our production company, so
and you're in the same universe as the wedding singer. That is canon.
Which I don't know why we didn't get to. I mean, we did the thing where they did it. The editors did an amazing job to be able to tie in the footage for the wedding singer episode. But that was such a missed opportunity.
I know. So close.
Well, maybe wait, I got it. Robbie Hart. Okay, so series finale, right? Series finale, or maybe just like a season finale because it's gonna go for 25 years, right? But a season finale, Jericho wedding, Robbie Hart is the wedding singer.
Yes,
there it is.
That has to happen. That would be so good because to me, it's like we already have had so many amazing moments, but we need to end. Like we have to end on something really good. You know, I feel like that's the one.
I don't think you can get any better than Adam Sandler singing at your wedding.
Like that would make my whole life. Honestly, there's so many other people that I would love to have on the show, but it seems like the casting and everyone in general have done such a good job of getting amazing people already. So who knows? Who knows who's next?
So speaking of ending, not that we're ending right away, but I imagine you have like stuff to do and you've been so generous with your time. Are we ready for the poll results?
Oh, I would love to do that. Yes.
Lons, we ready?
Yeah, we're ready. Let's hit it.
All right. Okay, it's coming. All right. So your favorite, the fans' favorite. Let's see if I can get this nice and big. Okay, the fans' favorite. Actually, no, I'm going to leave it with Hayley in the shot. So
we need a reaction.
Okay.
Need the reaction. Hopefully not a gag. So the fans' favorite Hayley Orrantia sung song on the Goldbergs.
So curious.
And we have Hit Me With Your Best Shot,
really?
number 1. Love Ninja, number 2.
Eternal Flame. That's a great song.
That's a good one.
Tom Sawyer, number 4. Where are all my Rush fans? That's the one I voted for. And then some ties for True Colors, Walking on Sunshine, and Come Sail. I like that Come Sail Away.
I love Come Sail Away. It's one of my favorite songs, and like your rendition of it, I just need it on Spotify right now.
Is it not honestly, that's one thing I have with the show is like we need all of the songs on Spotify.
Actually, so many worse shows, immediately the day the episode comes out, everything's on iTunes.
I don't understand I don't know if it's because they're cover, but look at what Glee did. Like Glee made it happen. Like we can do this, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's ABC. Disney probably owns all of the companies that have the music anyway. Sorry, I know.
What's sad about this chart is Put a Little Love in Your Heart is my favorite one.
Well, that's good. But you know what? Like that, isn't that the same with every musician, right? It's always the deep cuts. It's always the deep cuts.
Right.
That's a beautiful one. And I put it in there knowing it wasn't as well known. Right. But it is so beautiful. And again, as one of your Jewish viewers, that's a very special episode. So
yes, that was a good one. I loved that one.
So to wrap it up, we just, if you can tease a little bit, if you have anything in mind, what's Erica's arc this season, if you know? Or like what can we expect from Erica? Maybe some Jerica, big Jerica fans out there.
Well, you guys already saw that they are still together, but she's moved into her new apartment, which, by the way, I am obsessed with her new apartment. I want to move into it myself. It's an exposed brick loft in Camden, New Jersey. So I don't know the whole season because the writers like to keep that to themselves, but they probably know I have a big mouth and would tell people. Let's see, what can I hint at? Obviously, more Jerica things to come, all different kinds of things. Hopefully, she's not as cruel to him this season as she normally is. What am I hinting at? Oh, Erica, now still being in college, is trying to figure out her college major, trying to figure out what she's going to do with her life, which I feel like is an ongoing theme for her. Yeah. So that is going to come in, a little bit of conflict with what other people in her life are already planning to do with their lives, if that makes sense. Don't want to give too much away. We actually have a table read in a little bit, so I'll find out what else is going on. But
awesome.
Otherwise, that's going to be tough because Erica, I think I'm curious to see what she settles on, because I think we will find what career path she ends up taking for long term, finally, after all these years. Because Barry's like, oh, I'm going to be a doctor, and it's happening. And, I'm guessing Adam, I would assume by the end of the show, whenever that may be, he would be like, I'm going to be a film director and create a TV show. So, but I'm excited for them to finally like figure that out for Erica.
And will we have more music on the Goldbergs from you?
Yes. So this season, I've already done 2 or 3 different songs, like cover
Wow.
songs. I'm hoping we've got a few more.
Awesome.
I think tonight, actually, we have a new episode tonight, and I do get to sing with the Molly Singwalls. So,
Oh, yes. Great acapella group.
which is so fun for me, by the way. I love those girls. So I'm excited for everyone to see that tonight.
Well, awesome. We can't wait. We're, 2.5 hours on the East Coast from a new Goldbergs episode. It's Bill's wedding, which is, I think, last season's season finale.
Yes, is now in this as episode 4. Yep.
All right. Thank you so much, Hayley. Where can we find you?
You can find me on any social media from, Twitter, TikTok's a big one now, Facebook and Instagram at Hayley Orrantia is my handle.
And of course, all your music at HayleyOrrantia.com, which I made a rather large banner for. I couldn't control the size of that banner. That's a little absurdly huge banner. We are so grateful, and the comments, as you see, I've been putting them up throughout because we didn't want to stop any of your awesome storytelling, but you can just see all the love fans have for you and have for this show, and how grateful they are for you sharing of yourself with everyone. And this is just wonderful. Hayley Orrantia, thank you for being.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hopefully I'll be back on here with Sam for an episode where we have a big one and we can just chit chat about what's to come.
We'd love that. We'd love to have you back. And have a good night. Have a good table read.
Yeah. All right. Follow the Goldnerds and all the gold nerdy places, folks. And as we end the show, we have our closing lines that we have as we end the show before we end the broadcast. Lons, take it away.
JTP out.
And then I say, have a summer.